Independent study is any form of study that is conducted by an individual student. Supervised study where students work on his or her own, or an experiment that a student conducts alone, are both considered independent study. The same is true to a certain extent for supervised experience programs of students working outside of the classroom laboratory. The primary role of independent study is to meet the needs of individual students. Students have different interests, abilities, and rates of learning, and independent study can cater to all of these differences. For fast-learning students, independent study offers them a chance to move beyond the minimum and expand their ability. For students with physical disabilities who can sometimes not participate in a given learning experience, it offers them a potentially meaningful learning alternative. During the use of independent study, the teacher takes on the role of the facilitator. The student is in charge of their own learning. Learning to learn on their own is a highly desired outcome for using independent study as a teaching technique. Independent study is also used to provide variety. Students will get bored with discussion, supervised study, and any other technique if it's overused. If independent study is made exciting and within range of the student's abilities, it helps bring fresh ideas to the learning environment. However, we as teachers must help students learn how to study independently and how to experience success from it. The first requirement in promoting independent study is that teachers need to be sensitive to the unique interests and abilities of their students. Teachers should work at knowing the individual interest of their students, and these can be found in many ways. Teachers can survey their students, use home visits, FFA activities, and times when working with students individually or in small groups. Teachers who decide to promote independent study need to teach students how to study independently. Students need to be provided with some degree of structure to offer them direction and meaning. A good way to provide structure is to use a format for students to follow when organizing their study. The teacher needs to suggest independent study for students at times and in ways that make it clear that it is a reward and not a punishment. Independent study involves freedom, a chance to do something different than other students, and an opportunity for students to study an area that is most interesting to them. Teacher planning is required when using independent study and will be different than planning for other teaching techniques. When students show a desire to do independent study, teachers will need to draw on their personal knowledge of resources available to help students decide where to look for information. Teachers should also develop questions to guide the students' study. Providing students with a place to work can also be beneficial. It should be equipped with an electrical outlet, a projector, tape recorder, CD player, and a computer. During the course of the study, there needs to be interaction between the student and the teacher. Questions need to be asked to ensure the students are on track. After the students complete their study, the teacher needs to thoroughly evaluate the students' efforts, tell the students what they did well, and provide areas for future growth. Independent studies need to involve more than students studying on their own and writing reports. It is important that students' learning be applied. The teacher should help students find opportunities to use key points from their study. For example, if students use independent study to learn how to build a brooder for pheasant chicks, the teacher should have students construct a brooder in lab and raise a batch of chicks to be released as a supervised agricultural experience. The class will also want to hear about the students' studies, and the teacher should provide an opportunity for the students to report to the class.